Around the nation, PYT Nation, Jeff Waldorf here. Welcome to the show. We're a little late. Sorry about that. Some video elements that had a little bit of difficulty trying to get into the show. But we're here. We got a show for you guys today, full show. So stick around for the next hour as we go around the nation for some of the best stories in progressive political commentary you can find from around the nation. All right, so please like and share the stream. Very important. And you know what? Let's just get into it. All right. Now, earlier today, President Trump responded to the Iranian strikes on two of our military bases in Iraq. So now yesterday, this is what happened. Just hours after the burial of General Qasem Soleimani, Iran launched about a dozen ballistic missiles towards two of our American air bases. That's Al-Assad and Erbil, which, of course, house American troops. So now the Iranians said, well, this is revenge. This is part of our revenge for assassinating Soleimani, which happened, of course, last week via drone. Now, we also know, thanks to reporting by the Gray Zone, that Soleimani was actually on a peace mission when he was attacked in Iraq. So absolutely disastrous. He was trying to do peace between Iran and Saudi Arabia. So now we have some good news about this, right? Because there's a lot of concern that we're going to get into a disastrous, prolonged conflict in the Middle East, another one. We have Donald Trump that comes out and says, well, he says this. Take a look.
I'm pleased to inform you the American people should be extremely grateful and happy. No Americans were harmed in last night's attack by the Iranian regime. We suffered no casualties. All of our soldiers are safe, and only minimal damage was sustained at our military bases. Our great American forces are prepared for anything. Iran appears to be standing down, which is a good thing for all parties concerned and a very good thing for the world. No American or Iraqi lives were lost because of the precautions taken, the dispersal of forces, and an early warning system that worked very well.
All right, so look, he sounds like a 3-year-old, and I'm sorry to insult children, but look, even though he sounds like a 3-year-old, I'm actually really glad to hear some of those words, because look, it is good that no Iraqis or Americans were killed. There were previous reports. I mean, last night there were people tweeting 20 to 30 Americans killed, and then there were Iraqis killed, and then, well, at least, at least according to Donald Trump, I know, source dubious, right? There were no American casualties. So that's good. That's very good. And it looks like that Donald Trump will not start a war with Iran. Now, what Donald Trump does want to do in retaliation is do more sanctions on Iran. So that's not going to lead to another conflict, and that's good overall. So dodge a bullet on that one, or a missile in that case. And look, here's the thing. Iran also not interested in a war. I know that sounds crazy after they literally lobbed missiles at our troops in the area, but look, when you look at how many missiles that they lost about 15, but 3 of them failed in flight. So they're about a dozen, and they all missed, right? Minimal damage. Well, they missed. I think they missed on purpose. This is basically a show of force. So now, let me get to a statement here from Iran's foreign minister, Javad Zarif, which kind of basically shows where they're at. They said Iran took and concluded proportionate measures in self-defense under Article 51 of UN Charter, targeting base from which cowardly armed attack against our citizens and senior officials were launched. We do not see escalation or war, but will defend ourselves against any aggression. So that's your standard expected response from Iran. But again, here you had minimal damage, no casualties. This is a warning shot. So this is, I think, to them or to me, them showing their capabilities of being able to strike our assets in the region, right? And their willingness to be able to use them, because this is the first time that they have actually fired from inside Iran missiles at our troops, right? Now, at the same time, and this is what's really important, because there are a lot of hardliners in Iran that were like, no, we must have blood, we must have revenge, right? Well, they showed their people at home that want that, oh, hey, look, we hit him back for Soleimani, so everything's square, right? In fact, Iran State TV was going around claiming that they had killed dozens of U.S. troops in response. Well, that's standard propaganda. Oh, we killed some of them, so now we're good. We got our revenge for Soleimani. Let's go back to our own lives and let's not escalate this any further. Now we're waiting for Donald Trump's response. So, but look, in the long run, both Iran and the United States do not want war with each other. And Trump, look, Trump has a lot of bad instincts. But in this case, I think his instinct is let's stay away from disastrous overseas wars because they're dumb. And they're deeply unpopular. And then that's what he looks at. Like, oh, war is super unpopular. Well, we're not going to go in that direction then. We're going to stand down. And so, look, and it's interesting the fight he has, I think, going on internally. The desire to look tough, right? Because he's got that, right? I got to look tough. Whatever, right? And then there's but I got to be smart and not, and going into Iraq and Afghanistan was stupid. By any measure, everybody agrees that Iraq and Afghanistan were stupid. So here you have Donald Trump, the dumbest person alive, also agreeing like, oh yeah, even the dumbest person can see that Iraq and Afghanistan were absolutely stupid. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that disastrous wars in the Middle East are disastrous, but they are incredibly lucrative for quite a few people and corporations. So there's that, right? But look, this is good PR for Donald Trump and good PR, by the way, for Iran. Because then they say, oh, well, we were tough too. Look, we took on the Americans. And so I don't care. Propaganda on both sides doesn't really matter as long as we avoid getting into this disastrous war. So that's, again, they could have launched a lot more. They didn't. That's a good thing. And so we're going to avoid war. So now, talking about this, and look, I've thought about this a lot. I'm sure a lot of you have talking about this, and we can't forget that. Look, a lot of this could have been avoided if we had not thrown out and ripped up the Iran deal. Look, the deal was great. The deal was the best deal that we could get. It stopped Iran from getting a nuclear weapon. Now, without the deal, guess what? They're going to start making a nuclear weapon. But it's not the fact that this was a bad deal, as Donald Trump says. That's not why he ripped it up. He ripped it up because it was Obama's deal. And Donald Trump wants to undo everything that Obama did so that he can go and one-up him. Like, oh, I did better than Obama. For example, he keeps look, during his election and even up till recently, and probably even up to now, he's been saying, I want to get a new Iran deal. I want to get it better than Obama. In fact, let me give you a quote here. He said, I do believe that they will probably end up wanting to meet, and I'm ready to meet anytime they want to. If we could work something out that's meaningful, not the waste of paper that the other deal was, again, the best deal that we could get, I would certainly be able to be willing to meet. He also added that he would convene a meeting anytime they want and without any kind of preconditions. Now, later on, of course, the Trump State Department came out and said, oh, actually, no, we've got a giant list of preconditions. But that's, of course, look, you've got Mike Pompeo, who, of course, has salivated over war. And I bet he's very disappointed at this point, as well as John Bolton. So, look, this is absolute. This whole thing was ridiculousness, bringing us to the brink of war. Also, he could try to do better than Obama, which in reality, of course, he's never going to do better than Obama. As mediocre as Obama was, Donald Trump will never reach that height. He put our troops in danger, sabotaged a peace mission just because he hates the last president. He's a child. And again, sorry to be insulting to children. But look, for God's sakes, we got to get this guy out. Because it makes me wonder, like one of these days, Donald Trump's going to manufacture a crisis. If he wins the re-election, for example, he's going to manufacture a crisis that he's not going to be able to get us out of. I mean, that's disastrous. I mean, this one was about as close as you could get without starting a disastrous war in the Middle East. And he's one of the luckiest. He's got to be one of the luckiest fail sons ever. And I worry that one of these days, his luck's going to run out. But hopefully by that time, he will not be at the head and in control of an entire country when it happens. If so, we're screwed. Okay. Moving on. Is the president on drugs? A lot of people are wondering after this morning's press conference, where Donald Trump, of course, talked about Iran and thankfully de-escalated the situation. He was sniffing and slurring his way throughout parts of that speech. And so there were a lot of people that were concerned. And let me show you a little bit of his speech to show you what I'm talking about. Take a look.
In 2013, and they were given $150 billion, not to mention $1.8 billion in cash. Instead of saying thank you to the United States, they chanted death to America. In fact, they chanted death to America the day the agreement was signed. Then Iran went on a terror spree, funded by the money from the deal, and created hell in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Afghanistan, and Iraq. The missiles fired last night at us and our allies were paid for with the funds made available by the last administration. The regime also greatly tightened the reins on their own country, even recently killing 1,500 people at the many protests that are taking place all throughout Iran. Your campaign of terror, murder, mayhem will not be tolerated any longer. It will not be allowed to go forward.
Tolerated? What? Okay. So those are some examples. You could hear him sniffing. And look, sometimes I sniffle, right? And that's because I have terrible sinuses. I'm not literally doing Adderall, which a lot of people think that might be what the president's doing. We don't know for certain, but there's a lot of speculation. In fact, it had been trending on Twitter. And I want to show you some of the fun responses from this. People expressing their concern for the president who could be possibly on some sort of drugs. Now, Kevin Cruz asks, how is he already out of breath? Did he jog there? Very unlikely, Kevin. After all, again, this is the president who has this theory about everybody being born with an internal battery. And if you deplete that battery, you die, and you deplete it through exercise. That's why he never exercises. And would explain why he's always out of breath. But Marie says, you can literally hear him trying to keep his tongue in his mouth. Trump is not well. Jennifer Hayden said, every single time Donald Trump gives a major speech, he has the sniffles. This is the discussion that needs to be had. Has any major outlet ever asked Donald Trump directly whether he uses Adderall? The American people have a right to know if the president has a drug dependency. That's good. You know, if I ever become president, which, boy, that'll be the day. I would admit that I have a drug dependency. I'm dependent on caffeine. I drink way too much coffee, and that, of course, gives me heartburn and screws my sinuses. So there's an explanation on that. But I doubt we're ever going to get the explanation from Donald Trump on why he. And look, this isn't the only time. Okay, I got one thing on my soundboard where he did the same thing as tolerated, right? And that's when he was talking about his vice president,
Mike Pounds.
It's Mike Pence. Yeah, Mike Pounds, tolerated. I mean, the guy has some serious issues. And I don't know. Like, is that slurring a result of Adderall? I have no idea. I'm not a doctor. Boy, we should get the Fox Medical A team in there. That might help. But okay, anyway, seriously though, let's get to more tweets. Charles Campisi says Trump looks and sounds like he's overloaded on Adderall. He's sniffing, slurring his words, robotically reading words off the teleprompter. His remarks were vapid, rambling, incoherent, no substance or detail. But yeah, that's pretty much every single speech that I watch with Donald Trump. And sometimes he's like sweating and stuff. Yeah. Mystery Solvent says Trump just blamed everything on Obama, as you saw in that clip. It's hard to hear over the loud sniffing. I don't think this is what Iran expected to hear. Well, Donald Trump, like I said, is a wild card. You never know what to expect from him. But what's interesting is, yeah, he did blame Obama. I mean, in that video clip, he said, oh, we gave so many billions of dollars to Iran, $150 billion plus $180 billion. No, he's making that up. What we actually did is that we gave Iran their money back. So that was money that we had frozen. We had frozen their assets after an arms deal in the 70s, right? So look, we kept the arms. We got their money because they had that Islamic revolution. And so that was in response to us overthrowing their government and installing a Shah, basically a puppet government. And so we kept their money until the Iran deal, when we finally agreed, okay, we're going to give you your money back. You still didn't get the weapons, but we're just going to give you your money back. And by the way, speaking of giving weapons to the Iranians, that was something that Ronald Reagan had done, by the way. And a lot of people don't like to talk about that. All right. More. Paris Lady 1492 says Trump is high as a kite and some drug he sniffed. Cindy 8645 says, it's pretty bad when I see Adderall trending, and my first thought is, oh, right, the president gave a speech this morning. It gets even more savage, and I love it. Richard Leah says, it looks like he looks like an exhumed corpse, which was sent to the paint shop for a few coats of Day-Glo orange and then injected with Adderall. It's like Weekend of Trump's over here, or Weekend at Trump's. He adds, this gives me hope that he's truly sundowning. Maybe. Greg Morelli says, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, sniffs Adderall like a duck, it's a duck. Quack, quack, Mr. President. All Kinds of Nope says, he is not well, can hardly open his eyes, slurring his words, sniffing and short of breath. East Coast Emo says, under politics trending is Adderall, slurring, teleprompter. Are we great yet? Yeah, well, that would be nice, wouldn't it? If we were great. And finally, a black woman who don't give an F says this. If Barack Obama, such a great point, Barack Obama stood before cameras, slurring his words, barely able to read a teleprompter and sniffing and gasping for air, it would be the top headline running in MSM. But with Trump, MSM intentionally ignores it. Why? It's because, look, it's basically Tuesday. That's what you get with the Trump administration. And now there are two more who kind of look on the bright side of things. So we'll leave you off with a little bit of hope here. Strong Moderate says that address was a mess, no consistent tone, no clear takeaway message, some domestic political bashing, slurring. The only positive thing here is that there was no clear military escalation. So thank goodness he was feeling charitable today. And then Rob Rob Rousseau, says whoever it was that shot Trump up with a bunch of horse tranquilizers or whatever this morning to prevent him from starting World War III, I salute you. Indeed. Indeed. Doing the Lord's work. All right. Let's move on. Okay. There we go. Now, last night, Iran had retaliated against the U.S. Assassination of General Qasem Soleimani by launching ballistic missiles at 2 American air bases inside of Iraq. Now, the response of the president is a hot topic inside of Fox News, where there's some obvious dissension in the ranks. There is a bit of a split between some of the more pro-war and anti-war voices on the right. Now, I've been talking about this for the last couple of days because I think it's fascinating. And I have examples. For example, you have Geraldo sparring with Brian Kilmeade for basically cheering on the escalation of tensions within the region. Watch.
And I don't know if you heard, but this isn't about his resume of blood and death. It is about what was next. We stopped the next attack.
It was preemptive.
That's what I think you're missing.
According to the Secretary of State.
And so we should allow the next attack?
By what credible source can you predict what the next Iranian move would be?
The Secretary of State and American intelligence provided that material.
Yeah, they've been excellent. They've been excellent. The U.S. intelligence has been excellent since 2003 when we invaded Iraq, disrupted the entire region for no real reason. Don't for a minute start cheering this on. What you have done, what we have done, we have unleashed.
I will cheer it on.
We have, all right, well, you like Lindsey Graham, have never met a war you didn't like.
All right, so Geraldo, look, Geraldo's absolutely right. And he deserves credit. I mean, look, I recently talked about how, again, Geraldo has taken a very strong anti-war stance. He was talking about how I'm going to go on Sean Hannity's show. I'm going to try to tell the president to keep your powder dry, as if he understands. The only powder I think he understands is Adderall after he's cut it up. But look, he's basically saying, let's not get ourselves into a war in the Middle East. Because our intelligence, for one, our intelligence was faulty when it came to Iraq, and he pointed that out. As well as, of course, you're going to have this just absolute, I mean, look, if you thought Iraq was bad, and it was bad, it was basically a clusterfuck, that's exactly what it is. I mean, I'm not going to mince words on that one. It was a clusterfuck. And Iran would be 4 times the clusterfuck that Iraq was. And so we all know this. It's very, very obvious. And so Geraldo's saying that's exactly what's going on. And so that's why I do not support this action. And that was, of course, before the rocket attacks. And even after the rocket attacks, like I said, Geraldo was still saying, hey, let's not have a disproportionate response. Let's cooler heads prevail, and let's see what happens, okay? And now, Geraldo is not the only anti-war voice that is on the right wing. In fact, Tucker Carlson is another. Let's watch.
What's so striking is how many people appear to accept this uncritically. Just the other day, you remember, our intel agencies were considered politically tainted and suspect. Certainly on this show they were, and will be for quite some time. Keep in mind, these are the people who invented excuses to spy on the Trump campaign purely because they didn't like Donald Trump's foreign policy views. And they're the ones who pretended he was a Russian agent in order to keep him from governing. Remember that? Russiagate? Our friends in the intel community did that. And by the way, these are the same people who lied about Iraq's weapons of mass destruction way back in 2002. And by doing that, got us into an utterly pointless war that dramatically weakened our country. The people pushing conflict with Iran are the same people who did that. It seems like about 20 minutes ago, we were denouncing these very people as the deep state. and pledging never to trust them again without verification. But now, for some reason, we do seem to trust them implicitly and completely. In fact, we believe whatever they tell us, no matter how outlandish. Iran did 9/11, they're telling us. Oh, okay. Didn't know that. 15 of the 19 hijackers were from Sunni Saudi Arabia. None were from Shiite Iran. But if you say so, Mr. unnamed CIA official, I'm happy to send my kid to the Middle East a week after Christmas on the basis of your anonymous and unverified leak to the New York Times. You've earned my trust through years of lying to me.
Look, that's devastating and devastatingly correct. And I hate to say that about Tucker Carlson because he's got some pretty disastrous views on immigration and he's wrong about a lot of other things, but he's absolutely right about, I should say, a lot of his analysis. Most of his analysis is right. There's obviously some points where he's absolutely wrong and off base when it comes to some of the Russia stuff. But okay, look, the point is, Tucker Carlson, when it comes to not getting involved in foreign countries, he's consistent. And again, one of the very few anti-war voices on the right. Now, Sean Hannity, however, it's kind of different. He was right after the missile attacks. He basically said that the mullahs need to get ready for our counterattack. If you're working in an Iranian oil facility or a nuclear facility, watch out, we're going to come for you. And he was boasting about B-52 bombers being launched, which of course didn't happen. But Sean Hannity just basically repeats anything that he sees from the president, from the establishment, from the GOP. This is why Hannity is not very popular anymore. Whereas Tucker Carlson has shown that there is an appetite for anti-war on the right wing. They're about as sick as conflict in the Middle East as progressives are, as the rest of us are. We are very war weary. We are not interested, especially since we have been lied into these wars by these, as he points out, the very same people who were trying to lie us into a war this time, which is the establishment, which is defense contractors and people like Lindsey Graham and, like I said, Sean Hannity. Now, here's the thing. With Fox, I mean, look, this is absolutely fascinating. The division between some of these Fox hosts, as I pointed out. Back in the day of Roger Ailes, they didn't have such division because everybody had their talking points and they came directly from Ailes himself, right? And so in order to be on Fox News, you had to do Ailes' talking points and you had to do them perfectly. There was no dissension allowed. Without him, well, I mean, it's fascinating to see that now there are these big divisions when it comes to international conflict. And it also shows with Tucker Carlson's growing popularity among the right wing. I mean, you know, getting so many views on his show, well, it shows that there is that appetite on the right. And that's actually a good thing. Now, Fox News, however, as a corporation, remember, they're a multinational corporation. And like the rest of corporate media, they do cheer on war. And so Geraldo got canceled on by Sean Hannity, by the way. He's supposed to go on so that he could go and urge caution for Donald Trump. Let me read you his tweet, actually. He said, urging Donald Trump to keep his powder dry. Please don't let this spin out of control. You can always hit them back. Please don't let this become an escalating you hit me, I hit you back harder until we have another full-blown bloody Mideast war on our hands. What would we win? And of course, the answer to that is absolutely nothing. And Sean Hannity, of course, took Lindsey Graham, who is a pro-warmonger, one of the biggest warmongers that we have now that John McCain is dead, and had him on a show instead. Now, it wasn't an accident. Again, multinational corporations, they love war, they love conflict, because that gets them one thing: ratings. All right. Let's switch gears. Actually, I'm going to take a quick break, and then we will switch gears. We got more stuff. We're going to go and do the impeachment, a little bit of news on that, and then Ivanka Trump, as well as attacks on Greta Thunberg, they continue. Stay right here around the nation.
Mike Pounds.
Welcome back to the show. Around the nation right here, TOT Nation. Jeff Butler here with you. Okay, so got a lot of super chats from you guys. So we'll go through and then we'll get right back to the show. Tony Izzo says nothing, but anyway, thank you. Sarge Tech says, I still remember Trump said that Obama would start a war with Iran to get reelected. Pure projection. True. Jeanette Villalona says Trump is bullying in chief. Agreed. And David Richardson said Trump's upset that he couldn't distract from the impeachment, that if anything, it only amplified the calls for his removal. So now we're going to talk about impeachment. And we're going to talk about what Donald Trump wants versus what his lawyers want. So now that the Iran crisis seems to be averted, now we're going to get back to talking about the impeachment. Oh boy. All right. Thank you for those super chats. Also, thank you to the patrons and channel members as well. You guys are great. You're awesome, and you guys support the show. Patreon.com/TYTNation, or hit the join button below. All right. Moving on. Let's get back into it. Change my sidebar here. All right. We may soon be moving into a new phase of impeachment, the trial in the Senate. So right now, Nancy Pelosi has been holding on to the articles of impeachment because she doesn't think that it's going to be a fair trial in the Senate. She would be absolutely correct in that because Mitch McConnell does not plan to have a fair trial in the Senate and include witnesses and things like that. Now, there are Trump allies that are also worried about if the impeachment articles of impeachment actually do hit the Senate, that some of Trump's most ardent defenders, in that case, would turn this very sober occasion, as Nancy Pelosi likes to call it, into a absolute clown show. So let me go to 3 sources familiar with the situation who talked to Politico, and it appears there seems to be little desire by lawyers to include some of Donald Trump's most ardent defenders in the House, Kevin McCarthy, Jim Jordan, and Matt Gaetz, in the Senate trial. I mean, they can. There's no rule that you can't have defenders in the House come and serve on Trump's team in the Senate. But according to one friend of the president, he said, quote, "They're not needed." They're not needed. I mean, look, yeah, I guess if you're just to take that at face value, well, then, yeah. I mean, McConnell basically has this whole thing rigged in Trump's favor anyway. He doesn't plan to call witnesses. Basically, the whole party plans to acquit Trump no matter what the evidence. And so why is this even a discussion? Why are we talking about Donald Trump's defenders, right? When there's not, it's basically going to be a show trial. Well, apparently, Donald Trump has been talking for weeks about enlisting the help of Jim Jordan, Kevin McCarthy, Matt Gaetz, and some of his more, I guess, his better defenders on TV. Now, one reason, one White House aide said that they would at least aggressively defend the president on television. Of course. Did they defend me good on TV? For Christ's sakes. That's why you have Mark Meadows trying to recruit Matt Gaetz and trying to push to have him have a seat at the Senate defense table. In fact, Meadows said last week, quote, "Gaetz had one of the greatest performances in the judiciary," before backtracking and saying, and I say performance because he brought the truth. Oh, right. Of course. No, I think he said too much at the first point. But anyway, now he also said, quote, "Listen, everybody wants to have their day in the sunshine. This is not a time to play politics. This is a time to put your best team on there. And I think Matt Gaetz would be one of them." It's time to put your best team out. I mean, that's not the time for politics. No, actually, it kind of is. Look, this is nothing but politics. Impeachment is a political trial to figure out if the president should be removed for violating the oath of office for personal gain. This doesn't, it's not a criminal trial. This doesn't actually lead to imprisonment or any kind of punishment other than being removed from a political position. And so I don't know why they keep saying, oh, it's not political. It's a political, first they say it's not supposed to be political, but then they're like, it's completely 100% political. So look, I don't know. But see, here's the thing. Meadows knows Donald Trump. And he knows that the people who defend him most vigorously on TV are going to be richly rewarded as soon as the Senate acquits. And so what he's doing is he's gathering up people like Jim Jordan, Representative Ratcliffe, Doug Collins, Matt Gaetz, and of course himself, because look, it's not about the Constitution. It's not about holding the president accountable in their eyes. It's not about law and order. No, for them, this is all a chance to try to please the baby on TV so that you get more votes, so that you get more power. That's what that is. That's what this whole thing is about. And so they see the opportunity to go and get more power and to get praise by making asses of themselves on TV, because at the end of the day, they have no core and no grip on the facts or reality. Okay. Let's switch gears. It's basically unearned everything, but Ivanka Trump made a lot of people angry in technology during a speech at the CES gathering in Las Vegas. So now, female tech leaders had said that they were, quote, insulted by the invitation to the younger Trump. Now, this is fascinating. Now, according to The Guardian, Ivanka was making a keynote speech about the path to the future of work, which addresses technology's role in creating and enabling the workforce of the future. So it's some pretty heavy academic stuff where you would want someone, preferably, who knows all about this, how to address technology's role in the workforce of the future and new technologies and entrepreneurship and things like that. In fact, let me tell you what she said about this. She said, "Our current and future workforce rely on the efforts of industry, academia, and government to fill our workforce needs, and I'm excited to discuss how the Trump administration is championing these shared goals." So already, basically shilling for her dad. Later on, goes in to say, "Well, look how many jobs the Trump administration had created," and said that every American who wants to work can secure employment with 7 million U.S. job openings. So there's a lot of reasons that people are not happy about this. Now, before I get into some of the criticism, I want to offer some context as to why she was invited in the first place. CES has long had issues with representation, catering mainly to men in the tech field, leaving women in the tech field out. And so for a long time, they featured no women keynote speakers. So I believe in an effort to try to rectify this, they just chose Ivanka Trump. Like, I don't know, we need a woman. Which woman? I don't know. Ivanka. Get Ivanka over here. She'll do anything. Literally. And so, look, that's the worst person to go and give a speech because, again, she has zero qualifications. And see, here's the thing. This is identity politics gone awry, right? Because here's the thing. Women want representation in tech, right? A lot of female tech workers that are like, yes, of course we want representation because we work in this field and we're just as smart and we're just as talented as men. And in fact, we have to work twice, sometimes 3 times as hard to even get recognized, as well as facing lots of harassment and discrimination on the job. And so, yes, we do want someone who represents us and who represents our experiences in the field. Ivanka Trump does not represent anyone. She's not even a member of tech. I mean, she has, again, no experience in this. So way to go, CES. You took what is a valid complaint, not having representation, and just tried to shoehorn any woman that would go into it. And that's sort of the problem. Now, let me get to some of this criticism here. Brianna Wu, she's a female video game developer. She's also running for Congress in Massachusetts. And so she has a varied profile. She said, quote, Ivanka is not a woman in tech. She's not a CEO. She has no background. It's a lazy attempt to emulate diversity. But like all emulation, it's not quite the real thing. It's kind of like when Ivanka Trump tries to emulate a smart person, nobody buys it. Nobody can forget the video of Ivanka Trump. I believe it was at the UN, trying to talk to world leaders and them really trying to ignore her because she didn't know what she was talking about. Now, let me go to tech analyst Carolina Milanesi, writes for Forbes, saying, quote, there are many more women who are in tech and are entrepreneurs who could run circles around Trump and how technology will impact the future of work. More. Investor Elizabeth Fullerton said this, quote, it is an insult to women in technology. We did hard times in university, engineering, math, and applied scientists. This is what extreme privilege and entitlement get you. It's not what you know, it's who you know, I guess. Well, that's basically how it kind of works. That's how Ivanka Trump got her position in the first place. She's Donald Trump's daughter. And so, I don't know, let me put you in the White House. Let me put you in the cabinet. You're an advisor now. But wait, advisors are supposed to be able to advise you on things that they know that's part of their field, that's part of their specialty. What does she know about tech? She doesn't know anything about tech. All she has done is coasted off her father's name her entire life, exactly like what her dad had done as well. No, she's not self-made. She's not overly intelligent or exceptionally intelligent or even more hardworking. She just has the Trump name. That's it. And so, yeah, these women in tech have a right to be angry because there are many more qualified women out there in this field that would have made better keynote speakers. So this is what the people who ran CES didn't understand. They don't get it. They don't get it. It's a ham-handed approach, and they definitely need to do better next time. Now, conference organizers, for their part, have defended this, saying, "Oh no. The reason that we invited her and that she's a good fit is that she leads the White House's efforts on job creation and economic growth through workforce development, skill training, and entrepreneurship." Well, does she know? Well, how effective are her efforts? Well, right now, half of all Americans work low-wage jobs. Not in tech, by the way, because look, the tech sector right now is filled with foreign workers on H-1B visas, something that President Trump continues to push for more of. Oh no, we need more H-1Bs. We need more H-1Bs. Look, workers at AT&T, by the way, have literally been training their foreign replacements who will work for less because of Trump and H-1Bs. The administration is not helping regular American people. No, they're helping multinational corporations. Ivanka Trump embodies that because what she is she is a brand. And a lot of what she had ran before she had entered the administration came from China. And so not exactly helping American jobs or innovation. So it's really not hard to see why people are very unhappy with nepotism Barbie delivering this keynote speech. She is neither qualified nor is a good example of actual real entrepreneurship. Okay. One more here. There seems to be no bottom to the right-wing barrel when it comes to attacking people that disagree with you. Now, a great example of this is former Trump advisor Sebastian Gorka. He was a former aide to President Donald Trump, and on his radio show decided that he would make a pretty crass joke about Greta Thunberg's body. Take a look.
If ever a kid, these are people who will defend Greta Thunberg, whatever her name. What is her name? Greta Thunberg?
Greta Thunberg.
They will lay their bodies down to defend.
Thunder's eyes. Why are you objectifying Greta Thunberg's body? She's 17 years old, right? She's a minor. Look, I get you don't like her. That's fine, but seriously, she is a minor, and she seems to act way more mature than anybody who criticizes her. Look, they can't go after her in the science, apparently. So they decide they're going to make cracks about her body. Naturally, of course, a lot of people that are pretty angry about that. Parker Malloy says, she's 17-year-old. What in the actual F? Mark Jacob adds, the disgusting Sebastian Gorka follows the toxic Trump playbook, calling Greta Thunberg thunder thighs. These a-holes love to attack females, especially young ones. She just turned 17 4 days ago. Ricky Davila says, Nazi scumbag pervert. Wow. Sebastian Gorka went from calling teen climate activist Greta Thunberg thunder thighs to saying he welcomed Iran's attacks on our troops. So then, of course, we can hit them back, right? He also said, I'd love to see the slovenly sack of rancid meat in total ruin, but he blocked me, so I can't tell him that. Well, maybe Seb Gorka will watch this. Who knows, right? Trina DeFiery says Sebastian Gorka is an ugly mug. Greta's thigh size is irrelevant. My question is, why is he critiquing a minor's body? Is he some kind of pervert? And then she goes on about how, yeah, she goes on about said Gorka, but also says this, and I think this part is clever. It's clear that he's jealous of Greta's thunder. I like that. That was pretty good. Now, Gary Swergold says, Thunder Thighs, top Trump ally Sebastian Gorka, mocks body of child activists. This guy is truly gross. Showercap says, super mentally healthy dude, that Gorka. Hey, Seb, stop sexualizing children, you pervy fascist. Damn. These are hardcore. You're with stupid now, says Gorka is a garbage person. Also, her last name is pronounced Thunberg. So in addition to being logically nonsensical and gross, it also doesn't make sense in an alliterative way. That's a good point. And look, I've gotten her name wrong before. I've called her Thunberg, but Thunberg is correct. And so now here's the thing. How gross are these people, really, that criticize her? The ones who go after her looks and they call her mentally ill and then they call her a useful idiot and a puppet of George Soros, which of course is blind anti-Semitism. No, she's not any of that. No, all she's doing is trying to fight for her own future in her own way. The only way that she knows how. And that's why, of course, telling us, just listen to the scientists. Look at the established science, which has shown that the climate is changing and it is man-made. We are contributing to this. And unless we do a course correction immediately within the next 10 years, her generation is going to experience the worst kind of disaster. And so, look, I love how the right wing is like, oh my God, immigration is like the worst thing in the world. Well, what's going to happen when we have mass migrations? People fighting for the right to get into the United States because the rest of the world is, I don't know, I guess a lot of areas around the United States are either dry, super dry, unable to grow food, or underwater, like in some of the equatorial regions. And so what's going to happen when that happens, right? We're going to see massive migration, far more than we've seen before. Then what? And so that's one of the problems. And of course, we have issues here in the United States as well when it comes to climate change. And so what's going to happen when that happens? We already have water shortages and wildfires in California. And so by ignoring climate change, ignoring what the science is telling us, you're actually going to make it worse, not just for people like Greta Thunberg, but also yourselves and your own children and grandchildren. And so, I mean, but look, the thing is, this is what the right does. All they want to do is attack the messenger because maybe they're too scared to admit the truth. I understand fear is a bigger center in the right-wing brain. And I know I hate to go to that genetic stuff, but there have been, it's not really genetic, but there have been studies that show that the fear center in somebody's brain, the fear and disgust, well, that's what triggers conservatives the most. And so, look, maybe the fact that they're so afraid that climate change might be right makes them deny it even more. No, it can't possibly be true. No, we can't be destroying the planet. We can't be dooming our own species. Oh, no, that's stupid. But in reality, maybe they're really deeply afraid of it happening. And so they desperately cling to the fact that it might not be true, or the idea that it might not be true. That all must be some sort of hoax from the globalists, from George Soros, and whatever to take your money. Again, another fear, right? Replacing one fear with another fear. And so I don't know what it is, but they're attacking the messengers and attacking the message and kind of dooming us all. All right. That's it. That's all I got for you guys today. Please like and share the stream if you haven't already. Please consider becoming a patron, patreon.com/TYTNation, or a channel member. Thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for everything. We will see you guys tomorrow right here, same time, same place, 3 p.m. Eastern. here on TYT Nation. All right. Love you guys. And remember, change begins with you. Good night, Nation. We'll see you guys tomorrow.
You're kicking me out the door. You're kicking me out the door.